I imagine we'll just get started. We have 15 people here, so that's pretty dope. Welcome everybody to Hacktoberfest Virtual Coffee Hacktoberfest Initiative, also known as VCHI 2024. We just as a little bit of history for, I know we have a lot of repeat customers here, but for anybody who's this is their first October hanging around Virtual Coffee, we have done this for the past, wow, how many years? This is the fourth one? Yeah.
Think so.
Yeah, fourth Hacktoberfest for Virtual Coffee. And Virtual Coffee
Fifth
was
time.
it was
We did it
2020,
in
but
2020.
20, 2021, 22. Oh my God. It's the fifth one.
Yeah.
Meg is right.
We're
Meg is always right.
tiny.
So the fifth Hacktoberfest, Virtual Coffee Hacktoberfest initiative. And just as a small spiel, this is the Hacktoberfest is a month-long celebration of open source that a company called DigitalOcean started. I don't know when they started it, a long time ago. And the idea is that it promotes open source contributions. And we jumped on the bandwagon in 2020. So Virtual Coffee started in 2020 in the summer. And started just as Zoom and then got a Slack and things like that. Hacktoberfest was when we kind of coalesced as a community that actually does things. And this was like our first big thing that we did. And it was a big success then. It was a big success every year. Our goal is the same as the DigitalOcean's Hacktoberfest is help our members get at least 4 contributions into open source projects in the month. It's always a lot of fun. We have maintainers, we have contributors, we have people that contribute that have been doing it for a long time. We have people that have do their first open source contribution in October. And it's great. As far as I'm concerned, it is one of the best times of the month. It also coincides with, October, which is one of the best, I think, months of the year. It's personally, it's a lot of fun. So I'm always excited about it. And so, yeah, so our goal is basically to have everyone try to get to the 4 pull requests, 4 accepted pull requests. And I could talk a little bit about the details of that in a couple minutes, but that's our goal, is to open the doors for people that would like to try to contribute to open source. I know as my personal experience, I was a developer for a long time before I did any open source things at all. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of them is it always seemed a little daunting. I didn't really know exactly what I was supposed to do. I didn't know the social, rules or, social, I don't know, guidelines, whatever. And the I did. I mean, I didn't have my first contribution in Hacktoberfest, but I wish that it had been around when I was, maybe a younger developer, because it is it can be hard. And once you get past that first hurdle of like kind of doing it for the first time, with support, and things like that, you can see that it is actually not, it doesn't have to be as hard as maybe sometimes it seems like in your head. That's true for me for anything new, especially things that are new social situations for me, right? And so that's kind of a big part of the open source thing, and a big part of, I think, some of the anxiety around contributing to open source is some of the social anxiety that comes along with it. But I am here to tell you that we can all get it through together, and it's not as scary as it seems. So the guide today, not guide, I don't know, the plan today, we always have an issue in Virtual Coffee that everybody can contribute to. So it's not just an issue that one person gets, right? It's an issue that everybody can contribute to. So I will be guiding people through doing that to get today. We can kind of all do it together. So that is the plan for the sort of meat part of the of this, I don't know, this hangout, this little kickoff. But I did want to kind of open it up for a second to see if anybody has any general questions about Hacktoberfest or open source, Virtual Coffee, really, really anything, any kind of questions are on the table for a couple minutes. And of course, once we get started, I will be happy to stop and answer questions, all that stuff. The goal here is to get everybody on this call to get through this process kind of together. But right now, I just like if anybody has any just sort of general open-ended questions that they have, um, I would be happy to kind of discuss them or talk about them or anything like that. And if not, we can kind of get started. But feel free to throw them in the chat or raise your hand or just blurt it out. Um, and if not, yes, Kirk.
Um, Somewhat relevant question. So, well, there's virtual coffee, us here doing Hacktoberfest, and then there's sort of like the general Hacktoberfest initiative, and then there's sort of from there the old DigitalOcean Hacktoberfest initiative. And I mean, I don't know, either one of us can talk about this. Like, there's like it's probably worth mentioning what's happening or what's changed with Hacktoberfest in general versus like what's happening with us. Um,
Yeah,
no,
that's no, I mean, that's a good call. So Hacktoberfest, it's always been DigitalOcean's thing originally. And they used to do a reward where the first, I don't know, 10,000 people or something like that got a t-shirt if they if they completed the goal. Um, they stopped doing that for a number of reasons, one of which was the t-shirt was cool enough that people were, I don't know, kind of doing spammy pull requests and, just not being good actors in the open source world. And so they removed the Hacktober. Yeah, Meg, if you can see Meg's video, she's got one of the DigitalOcean Hacktoberfest from 2019, which is dope. I have a few of them. Oh, she's just getting them all out. Yeah. And they were really cool. And it was really cool to get them. But the, there's also a lot of, sponsorship money has been drying up in this world for a while. And so that was a big part of it too. I'm sure that they spent a lot of money on this sort of thing um, over the years. So I'm sure that's part of it as well. They have done a lot of work towards reducing the amount of spam or whatever you want to call it, like the amount of bad pull requests, bad faith, things like that. And I feel like they've done it successfully. So what we do personally is, I mean, not personally, but in Virtual Coffee, is the original idea was like help members get the goal on Hacktoberfest, on their site, and that's still kind of the goal, but like it's also just an internal goal. We don't particularly care whether or not you signed up for Hacktoberfest, .com or not. It's great if you did. I think now for them, you get, digital badges and things like that, which are always kind of fun. But internally, it's more of just a thing that we're doing as a community to, um, I don't know, to have fun. And we talk about open source all the time. And this is a great time for us all to kind of contribute or all to come together and, you know, um, try to get forward pull requests. Sometimes if you have this nebulous goal in your head, oh yeah, I should do open source sometime, it never happens, right? And so this is why we like to do these kind of challenges. Is it makes us have a deadline, have a goal in mind, things like that. Meg, yes,
I am pasting the Hacktoberfest link and our uh, virtual coffee Hacktoberfest link as well, in case any attendees here have not registered yet. It is not too late. You can register up until like the last day, I think.
yeah,
And they are doing hollow pin badges in place of t-shirts. So I think that's what you had mentioned, Dan.
right,
So they're like little just digital badges that you collect. They'll give you one for registering, and I believe you get a badge for each successful pull request you make this month, and there may be one for completing 4. I'm not positive. Um, but that is kind of what they do in place of the t-shirt reward now.
yeah,
But yeah, it definitely was something that became an issue because they're so cool,
They
man.
were really cool. And, it is like a bummer, but I understand why, why they stopped doing that. The badges you can like embed on your GitHub profile or wherever, they make them so that you can put them places, if you like. Or you can just like share your, what is it, Jalapin? I can't remember what the site is, but you can just like share your profile, right, as well. Um, It is Ryan asks if it's an NFT. I don't think so, but I never, checked. I suppose you could just like take a screenshot of it and make it an NFT, right? Isn't that how that works? All right, let's not get sidetracked. Yes. All right. So thank you, Meg. I was gonna do the same thing. So you helped me out there. I appreciate that. Um, so yeah, if there's no other kind of, general questions, yeah, Christine said there's some other projects that offer their own prizes for Hacktoberfest. There definitely are. I got involved in a little bit of that last year, and it can be cool. Um, those ones, I don't have any of them in front of me. I don't have any links. There are lots of times they get shared around. So, you know, those are like an organization has an open source project or more than one, and if you contribute X amount of whatever pull request to their organization, they'll give you some kind of reward or swag or anything like that. So it's kind of a fun thing, and there are lots of organizations do this. There are, Hacktoberfest got pretty serious about the spam thing, and there are some organizations that uh, don't want anything to do with Hacktoberfest because of previous issues. Um, so I will, you know what, I'm going to start sharing my screen and we can talk about that for half a second. I don't want to like get too bogged down in, I don't know, downsides or negative things. This is the Hacktoberfest site. Um, and right, like Meg said, you can register here for Hacktoberfest. They have all sorts of things about participating. They have all the rules. One of the big rules is the organization itself has to have the Hacktoberfest topic, right? And so what that means is if you go to a repository, it has to have this Hacktoberfest thing here in the right side for in the About section, Hacktoberfest, for it to count. That is for the Hacktoberfest official rules. I don't particularly, for virtual coffee, I don't know that we're standing by that, because we kind of trust our members not to be, bad actors. But if you are trying to do the Hacktoberfest thing, that's one of the things you want to look for. The nice thing about this is you can search in GitHub for repositories that have this label or topic, I suppose they call it, and find repositories that are open to it like that. Different repositories will do things different ways. Sometimes they label specific issues with Hacktoberfest as well, so that they only want Hacktoberfest participants, on those. I would say in general, this is, we have a lot of resources on Virtual Coffee about open source contributions in general. So I'm not going to get too deep into things like that. But one big thing you want to do is most of the time repositories will have a contributing guide, and you want to definitely check that out. Always check that out if it's a new repository for you, or you haven't contributed for a long time. Contributing guidelines usually are a good idea to look at. They will have basically steps, things that they would like you to do. Sometimes repositories or sometimes projects don't want you filing pull requests if you're not assigned to the issue. There's lots of different things. So that's just the general top level thing. So yeah, so Meg said, sign up on Hacktoberfest, and then our virtual coffee Hacktoberfest initiative site is hacktoberfest.virtualcoffee.io, and you can sign in there and sign up as a contributor. If you have projects that you'd like to have people, work on, you can also sign up as a maintainer. When you sign up as a contributor, there's a question about asking for mentorship. So if this is your first time, or you're just not comfortable with it in general, we have mentorship available, like one-on-one mentorship. And Meg, I think we still have room, right? Like we still have more mentor space available than we have people requesting mentorship. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you haven't signed up, or if you honestly, if you did sign up and you said no, but now you've changed your mind, in that case, you might want to hit us up or just mention it here. But
Yeah.
there is still room. So yeah.
If you did sign up already and you want to change anything in your form, or you weren't sure if you wanted a mentor and you do now, or if you weren't sure you wanted to be a mentor and you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me. And we can
Yeah.
talk about it. Just send me a DM.
Yeah, and you can change your form anytime, but we won't get notified about it, I don't think right now. So and Meg already did the pairing and all that stuff. So if you had already filled this out and then you decide now, go ahead and change it in this thing, but also let us know because we like I said, Meg already did the work, and thank you, Meg, for doing that, the work of pairing people that requested mentorship with our mentors. So also thank you. Shout out to the people that did volunteer to be mentors in Virtual Coffee for this year or for this Hacktoberfest. We appreciate all of you, and yeah. Any Let me get that chat open again. I lost it for a second. Any questions in the meantime on this stuff? Oh wait. Yes, on the repositories, or is a tag for organizations. So Misha, I hope I'm saying that right. Asked if the tag is on the repository or the organization. It is on the organization itself. I mean, no, I said that. I said the exact wrong thing. It is on the repository itself. I don't think there's. I actually don't know. Is there topics for organizations? I don't think there are. Either way, the answer is on the repository. So you can see this is Virtual Coffee's repositories. We have the Virtual Coffee IO, which is our public site. That's the one we're going to be working on, Hacktoberfest. The Hacktoberfest site itself has the Hacktoberfest label. Our VC community docs, which we just open source, does not have the Hacktoberfest label. We don't really want folks coming in from Hacktoberfest and working on this. That said, as a Virtual Coffee member, if you're an active member and you find issues in here that that you'd like to work on, we will for sure, count that when we do our roundup at the end of the year, or at the end of the month. But it will not count for hacktoberfest.com, if that makes sense. Kirk, raise your hand. What's up?
Correct me if I'm wrong, other people who have done this before.
Always.
But I thought there was the ability, sometimes you can put Hacktoberfest directly on an issue. I know there's some orgs, I think, that opt into that. Instead of putting it on like the repo level, they do it like very atomically. But if you're like searching for stuff to work on, it's probably easier by repo level. Meg probably knows more.
You need to put it on the, well, let me see here. We'll find it. Maintainers.
So
Yeah.
unless they changed
It needs to be on the repo.
to,
Okay.
You also can.
the second, so this is best practices. The second bullet has Hacktoberfest label to issues you want. So it doesn't have to be on the repo. If it's on the repo, from what I understand, if it's on the repo, that like kind of covers, that's like saying this whole repository is pretty much game. Like this is a Hacktoberfest focused repository. And they will label individual issues still. What I've tended to do in the past, because I'm a maintainer of a repo that I never prep in time for Hacktoberfest, I'll try to get some issues together and have people I know personally work on some of them and label the issue and the pull request with the Hacktoberfest accepted label to give them credit.
So
I don't have a bunch of random people.
Right. So the Hacktoberfest accepted label is only for pull requests. The topic, the repo has to have the Hacktoberfest topic. The repo has to have it. This is for hacktoberfest.com. And like I said, our members, I will not be checking this when we do our tallies and stuff like that. But for the hacktoberfest.com, the repo has to have the Hacktoberfest topic. Or you can add Hacktoberfest accepted to the pull request. So if you're a maintainer and you want to not like advertise to the world that you're doing this, you can add Hacktoberfest accepted to the pull request itself. You can also
Yeah,
do that if
that's
you're a
what I
maintainer.
do.
You can also do that if you haven't like you're not ready to merge it yet, but you know it's good. You know what I mean? I've done that before. So this will count as well. So that's the answer there. And this so again, it's like a little bit less like lower stakes because there's not like a t-shirt involved. But that's kind of the rules there. It's they're changing the rules to um, improve the spam situation, obviously. But that's what's going on here. All right, let me catch up with the chat. B is saying, I saw most of the issues have already been assigned. So that's probably on our repository. That's true. There are a lot of issues in the world that are open. There is some stuff on hacktoberfest.com. They have some repositories. Also, see, we have our here it's here on our challenge page. So this is like our monthly challenge as well. We have a list of repositories that our members have sort of submitted as repositories that have open issues as well. So that's another good resource. I'm gonna put this in the chat right now. It's another good resource for finding issues. There's not a ton of open issues on our site right now. There might be some more throughout the month as you know, as we find issues or have time. But there's lots of issues in the world to contribute to. Aaron was saying it's, I don't know, Meg was saying it's part of a challenge. That's like a challenging part of Hacktoberfest is finding the issues in the repositories. It is, but it is always possible. Chris is saying Dev has badges about writing about Hacktoberfest. So that's cool. So does Virtual Coffee have repos that are using for Hacktoberfest? Yeah. So our two, and I'm sorry, I didn't even look at what the open issues are on the Hacktoberfest site. They might be out of date, so I should check that out. But our Hacktoberfest site, which is where you do signups, also, yeah, there's no open issues, so that's cool. But there might be soon because this is like using an old version of Next.js, and I'd like to upgrade that. So if I can get some issues into here, and more issues into here, definitely will. And like Meg said, we have a Hacktoberfest channel in Slack that we will be at least posting issues on. If you are working and you find a good repository that has a lot of open issues, or you find, sometimes people post blog posts or there's sites that collect open issues, things like that. Please share them in the Hacktoberfest room because we would love to see them.
Throughout the
Christine,
month, we'll
go ahead,
tend
Meg.
to post issues either in the Hacktoberfest channel or open source channel. And if they drop them in open source, usually someone cross posts it in Hacktoberfest.
Mhm.
I do, as to Siraj's comment in chat, definitely I've found in the past that the hardest thing is finding an open issue that's like a stack that you know and a level that's good for you. So don't despair. If you're having trouble, post in our Slack saying, "Hey, I'm looking for these kinds of issues. Can you please keep your eyes open?" And then you'll have more people looking out for you. And
Yes.
always your mentor as well.
And yes, absolutely. And there's also we've covered this topic in the past, and Jessica did a how to discover open source projects that align with your needs and goals. And so we have some resources available on Virtual Coffee, both in the resources section on the site and also the YouTube channel that have a lot of stuff like this as well. Bye, IU. Miss you. Sorry you couldn't hang out the whole time. Okay. If there's not any more questions, I'm going to jump into doing this month's issue. So I pinned it on the repository. This is on virtualcoffee.io. And so it's here. It's also the just newest issue. But I'm going to want to paste the link here as well. So there's a lot of ways to do open source, right, work. There's a lot of ways to contribute to things. For the purposes of this call, what I'm going to do is do the entire thing through the GitHub UI. That means is like do it on the GitHub site itself, as opposed to having everybody check out the site and try to get rolling locally and all that stuff. It is, I do this like not just on this call for instructional purposes, but I do this all the time for kind of more simple things, especially things that I don't need to you know follow through. So like documentation changes, things like that. I will do this flow just on the GitHub UI. So it's not wrong and it's not a cheat or anything like that. There are times where I would absolutely not do this. And we have a ton of resources for how to get rolling. And the site itself, if you want to do it locally, the README is full of all of the instructions you need to get going with the site locally. I ran into a problem on Windows. So if you're on Windows, so we just released a new version of the site that's built on Next.js, and there is something going on in Windows, have not tracked it down yet. So if you're on Windows, the local instructions might not work, and I will hopefully figure that out soon. But for this call, I'm going to do the whole thing on the GitHub UI. So no terminal, no doing Git commands. We're just going to do it right here. So if you haven't seen it before, the members page is here. And we have this cool map that we did last year. And then we have basically our list of entire members. So we have our core team, which is our maintainers, Becca, me, Meg, and Kirk, and then all of our members. And so our members have lots of information. You can do links, things like that. And then we have these badges, and the badges started a couple years ago. These are just all the badges so far are Hacktoberfest badges. So this is 2022, and this is 2023. And we will do 2024 today. Yeah, GitHub Codespace is also cool. I've messed with it and I'm not going to today, but I've heard it's neat. Also the same with Gitpod. I know we've talked about it a few times before. I've never tried it on our site, so I'm not going to mess with it at this time. So I have a sort of fake GitHub account here. It's not fake. I mean, it's real, but it's not, it's not my normal one. So this way we can kind of do it as a not as a maintainer, because sometimes when you're on not sometimes, when you're on a repository as a maintainer, everything kind of looks different. There's more things you can do, things like that. And so I wanted to make sure that this demo kind of went along with what people are seeing. So here's the issue. So the first thing is complete number 13. So number 13 is add your profile to the members page. So this is like the base level of what we need to do. And then the 2024 Hacktoberfest issue is either add it and then add this badge, or if you already have a profile on it, then just add the badge. So I'm going to kind of go from this. Dan uses GitHub user, does not have a member profile. So I'm going to run through that whole thing for us real quick. Oh yeah, yeah. I have different alter aliases for different testing, environments, and it's usually Dan Tester Guy, but I don't know. This one was one I'd created a while ago, and I found it in one password, so I didn't have to create a new one, which is cool. So following along number 13, oh no, where did number 13 go? Here it is. So there's a bunch of information. This is basically, we're going to do is follow these instructions and basically duplicate this file to add our, oh man, I need to update I need to update this issue. Same. That's what happens. All right, let's find the right issue for that. Or I mean, the right file for that too. So the real file it's in SRC, and then it's in content, and then it's in members, and then it's in, oh, not core. Then it's in members again. I could have sworn that I fix this, but here's example.ts. I'm going to put this I'll fix, where am I going to go? I will fix the issue. I probably can just do that real quick, actually. We'll do this so people don't get too confused. All right, number 13. Sorry, this is a sidetrack. This is not part of what you need to do here. Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum-bum. Where did it go? Where did it go? So there we go. So any other places where that is? Yeah, I think it just was linking to an old branch or something that was gone. All right. So anyway, this is the file, right? And so what we want to do here is you could duplicate it from the UI, or if I just have to copy it and might just have to copy the code and start a new one, but that's easy enough. All right, so copy paste. All right, so what we want to do here is add a file, create a new file. And what you want to do is so you can copy paste from the example, and you want to name your file the GitHub, your GitHub profile name. And it was definitely, was it Dan? Dan uses GitHub, that's what it is. All right, Dan uses GitHub.ts. All right, and then we want to
Totally original.
this export, need to change the export name to your name as well. All right, and then GitHub ID is the same thing. All right, so all those should be pretty much the same. And then in here, we can fill out all of the different details. So this starts out as being commented out, and then a lot of this information gets pulled from your GitHub profile when the site is built. So that's why we need your GitHub. This is required. And then if you want to have the name that shows up on the members site be different than your name that shows up on your GitHub profile, so let's just like go right to my, this is my obviously not filled out profile, but the name that shows up will be like the name that goes here. So in GitHub, Dan, tester guy. There we go. All right, so it'll be this name and the description will get auto-filled. You have the option of overwriting them here if you want something different to show up. These flares are something we added a couple years ago. And I'm going to choose not to do it, but there are a few different flares in there if you'd like. So these are what makes the shapes, right? So the default is just kind of a rounded square, and we have a star and I forget what we called this, a something rabbit, because of the rabbits cut out of the corner, circle. And then accounts, if you want to link to any of your LinkedIn or any of your like social accounts, those are here. And then badges is what we're doing now, right? And so if you already have this profile, but you're editing your profile, this is we have converged here. So what we want to do is let's go back to the issue and make sure we get the right one. And we want Hacktoberfest 2024. And we can do that right here, right? So Hacktoberfest 2024. That's this year. If you participated in Hacktoberfest 2023, then go ahead and make sure either add it or I guess, or just confirm it's there. And then location that'll get you on the map. Let's just, I'm going to assume that that's Lakewood, which is where I live. And then in the GitHub UI, all you have to do is hit commit changes. And so this is going to, since I'm not a maintainer on the site, so if I was a maintainer on the site, or if I had write privileges in any way, I would have the option to commit this right to the main branch or create a pull request. I don't have that option here. Like, I don't, this GitHub user is not connected to Virtual Coffee in any way. So the default is propose changes. And what that will do is give us basically put us into the pull request flow, right? So I'm going to create a pull request. And this kind of sets us all up for us, right? So it makes a branch name for us. It forked it for us, and we can fill out this pull request template. So this is something that some repositories have. We have it on Virtual Coffee. If they have a pull request template, it's usually a good idea to not just delete the whole thing, but to actually fill it out, right? So here is our issue is 1240, right? So we can say adding my profile via 13, right? And adding Hacktoberfest 2024 badge 1240. All right. And so cool thing about GitHub is you can just refer to issues and it will link them automatically, which is nice, which is really nice. Description. Follow the instructions. And so some of this like methodology, like that's just, like I said, it's good and important to fill it out. I think that I would say, well, let's do this for methodology. It's like you can kind of think, oh yeah, it's just silly and like nobody like cares or needs this. But I think in general, I mean, for this specific issue, probably not a big deal. But in general, I think it's good to not skip steps. It will help. These are in the template for a reason, and you are probably only going to annoy maintainers if you delete things or don't fill things out or just leave comments or empty headings. All right, now that I thought about this is actually a better description. Linked issues is, we'll just make this a bullet list, right? And there we go. And then, yes, I agree. So let's check out the preview. This is what I like to do sometimes, is make sure when I'm writing, anytime I'm writing an issue or a pull request, I always like to hit preview, just make sure it like looks right. I didn't miss a hashtag or something to make something wonky. This allow edits by maintainers. There's almost never a reason to uncheck this, right? It's again only going to annoy people if you uncheck it. It's lots of times with a pull request, there's just like maybe a small tweak or maybe you accidentally committed something. And as a maintainer, if you leave this box checked, which it is by default, I can usually just fix it for you and then merge pull requests, and it's really fast. If not, I have to leave a comment explaining what's going on and then hope that you do that and then merge it, right? And so it just creates a lot more cycles. And then after that, it's just create pull request, right? And so now I have this pull request. Doing that, I never had to, there's a lot of things that I didn't have to do. GitHub kind of handled it for me, right? So I have a fork here of Virtual Coffee on my profile, which is cool. And I didn't have to do that on purpose, right? And it created the pull request and all that stuff. And so this is a pull request here. It's files changed is one. There's a new file and I'm done, right? On Virtual Coffee, not every site has this, but Virtual Coffee, I kind of auto deploys pull requests. Hopefully this is working now. I haven't actually tested this, but if this is working, you will be able to see the deploy preview once it's done and see if your member thing worked. There's another nice thing about not having to check it out and run it locally. But that is pretty much the entire thing, right? And so as a maintainer, when I get to pull requests, like I'll get a notification and it says, hey, there's a new pull request. And I can look at this and say, oh, they linked to this and to this, and I can check out the code. Again, the same deploy preview is happening. Netlify is still building and all that stuff. So I have to wait a couple minutes for that. But generally as a maintainer, what I'll do is I usually get to it after it's done building and I'll check it out, make sure the thing worked. I'll look at the files changed, and if things are good, and I'll approve it and merge it. And if things are not, like if something needs to be tweaked, I will, like I said, I will either make a small tweak myself or in the comments, I'll ask to change it. And that's kind of the whole thing. So hopefully if you were following along, you're about to hit create pull request as well. and we can see some more. I'm not going to merge this one because this is not a real person. Oh no, so the pull request didn't build. All right, so I need to figure out what's going on with that. It's not because of my code, I don't think. It's because there's something going on with the way that I'm doing these with Next.js. So we can just like look at this live. This is not something that that people that aren't on the account would have access to it, but let's see what happened here. See if we can. Okay, apparently we need to update the weight. No, those are just warnings. Missing API credentials. All right, cool. So that was, I thought I'd handled that, but I had not. So I'll need to handle that. So if you do a pull request right now, the deploy preview will fail. I'm sorry, but it doesn't mean that the pull request will not get approved. It's just something's going on with the environment variables and pull requests, and I thought I had taken care of it, but I have not. So
Dan planned
well, I planned this. Yeah, that's it. So I thought that I did a thing where I
can I jump
we don't
in
need to
real
fix it
quick?
on that. Absolutely.
First off, I noticed you don't have a profile picture for your GitHub, so I DM'd you one in Slack. You're welcome. Second, when you were filling out this pull request there and using the template, you were mentioning how there's these different sections with the code comments in there saying instructions, how to do it, and saying, yeah, just follow the instructions or else the maintainers will get annoyed. While that is true, excuse me, that's also, those instructions are there to help you. A lot of times projects may have one maintainer, they may have multiple maintainers. Basically things like the contributing.md documentation and the templates for the issues and the pull requests are there to answer any questions you might have. It's there to like to answer questions before like you come to the maintainers with them. So if you're going through and are confused by something, check the README, check the contributing. You can do the shortcut. Can you go back to the thing? Yeah, so I think if you go to the code base and just press the backslash key or / key, sorry. I think that just like starts up the search. Yeah, just search like a term and it will search through the whole repository. And if it's in the README or contributing, it will show you like where these things are located. So rather than like reaching out to someone, waiting for that asynchronous chat, you may be able to answer your own question by doing that too.
Yeah,
So
it's a
just
great call. And I mean, I use GitHub search constantly, and especially if I have a problem with, something happens where a package that I'm using isn't acting the way I think, I will search in here. And, you can see how it splits it up between code and issues. So, you can kind of look for documentation files in here that mention your term, or you can look for issues. That's like a bigger thing. When we have so in and this isn't super related to this issue, but if you're looking for if you have found an issue or found what you think is a bug or whatever on a site and you want to file a new issue on our thing, the first thing is, hey, like I have searched for the existing issues, right? So do exactly what Mega's saying. If you run into a problem, it's possible that somebody has also found that problem before, and there might be some discussion, might be some solution. sometimes you'll run into packages that haven't been updated for a while. So for whatever reason, the maintainer has kind of drifted off from the project, but the issues are still kind of more active because people are still using them. And so you'll find people discussing problems, and they might have workarounds, or somebody might have started a fork that they're maintaining, which is, it happens sometimes. So the GitHub search is very good. I would practice using it as much as you can. And it's very, it has a lot of tools and features besides just keyword searches. Let's see if they have just an easy link to.
And when you clicked in there at the bottom, it says
Oh yeah, search
search.
that's what I was looking for. Yeah. So there's like
Yeah.
you can like query, you can use query language. They have like a very specific query language. So you can say only in markdown files, search this term only in markdown files in this repository, for instance, if you knew that their docs were in markdown or something like that. There's a lot, I mean, we're not going to get into obviously deep dive into this, but like there's a ton of stuff you can do. You can even do, regex like in the search box, which is, pretty cool. That can especially come in handy when you are, so like, let me think of a good example. Well, for one thing, you can do case sensitive stuff, so in Next.js, for example, the page exports are like export default, but this will find, so this will find this, but if you put this in quotes, then it finds the whole thing, right? So I don't know if I forgot to look how many results were there. It's probably, see 340 versus 100 and whatever it was. And if you knew I'm trying to think of a really good example, but if you wanted to find like page, you could do a, I'll see that for the search. You could do a regex, and I can't pull this off the top of my head, but because the word page will find like a billion, right? But I want to find, and I suppose this is just solvable with a string function page, but this will probably work. Function. But you could do this with, if there were some results, or if there's one of these things where you're finding a million results, you can use regex to kind of clear those, cut through that deck as well. Meg is asking any questions. This is a good time for questions. I mean, like I can, if what are we at? We're almost at an hour, but I'd be happy to hang out and answer any questions if anybody has them. I hope that I start seeing some pull requests come in from you all. There were, how many people do we have here? I lost my participants thing. What do we have? 15, something like that? Yeah, 15. So I know that Dan Tester Guy submitted a pull request. Hopefully everybody else is submitting pull request as well. It should be pretty straightforward. If anybody has any issues with that in particular, or virtual coffee, or Hacktoberfest stuff in general, or open source stuff, or anything like that, all of us are going to be hanging out in the Hacktoberfest room all month long. If you have been here previously, we are not doing the Hacktoberfest co-working room this year. We're just going to be the co-working room. The regular co-working room exists as normal. And so everybody's always welcome to jump in there and talk about Hacktoberfest stuff if you all want. There's just like lots of support. Lots of people are excited about this stuff. There's no dumb questions. There's no like, oh my God, what do I even type in this thing? Like that is a question that I've had to myself many, many times. Lots of repositories don't have pull request templates, right? Like we have on Virtual Coffee. And so it's just an empty box, and you have to figure out what to type in there. And so it's not it's not a dumb question, you know what I mean? And so our goal is to get everybody going in open source, and especially people who haven't done open source contributions before, or anybody that's nervous about it, but everybody, even old pros like Kirk, we want everybody to get it done. If you have projects that you have put on GitHub and want to have people contribute to, There's also like a lot of us that have done that. And we have, we have some videos. I know that IU and Becca just did right? Wasn't that a video about maintainers like getting ready? And I think I don't know, it's at least posted somewhere. I can find the link to it at some point, or maybe somebody else can while I'm still talking. Um, all right, Misha says, some of the repositories I want to contribute to use TypeScript, and I'm not super familiar with it. If I have a good understanding of JavaScript, will it transfer over a lot? Is there some kind of crash course you recommend? Okay, so the answer to your first question is, if I have a good understanding of JavaScript, will it transfer over a lot? The answer is yes. So TypeScript, what's the right way to say this? TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. I don't know. Like all of JavaScript exists in TypeScript, and then TypeScript adds things to it, right? So the hardest thing for that is um, it's kind of just like learning how to read it, really, because the type definitions look a little bit different. Well, not that there are type definitions, and so you just have to train your brain a little bit so like your brain is used to reading how a function looks and things like that. And now a function has, along with the normal function stuff, it has type definitions. And so let's see if there's one in here. No, this is not a good example. Let's see if we can find a good one. But all the like function stuff that you expect still exists. So here's a function, right? So this is normal JavaScript, right? And then you have named parameters. That's normal JavaScript. But the colon here this is the type, right? And so this is the shape of what this is, right? So when you look at create event query, this is in normal JavaScript. If you just looked at this, it would say calendars, range start, range end, limit. And you hope you can figure what that means by the name, but that's all you have, or maybe comments and stuff like that. So TypeScript will say, okay, this is actually a string. This is actually a number. This is whatever this is, And if you're ever using VS Code, the like benefits of this stuff get even more amplified because you can like option click on this and go right to whatever this is. Like, who knows? And so that's the hardest part. That was the hardest part for me, was just training my brain to like parse it, if that makes sense, like to like scan it. But yes, like all of your JavaScript stuff will be useful in here, and it's just like some stuff on top of it, to like insanely simplify it. But yeah, and like this is a great like time to start like cracking the seal on TypeScript, because you can do it in small, and you're not like starting from scratch. Like building a project from scratch in TypeScript is a hard ask. Converting one of your existing projects that is in JavaScript to TypeScript is hard, because you're going to run into stuff all the time that, and like, it's not, not that you shouldn't do it at all. You should, but I mean, like, you should if you're interested. But like this kind of thing where you're just like, I'm just going to do one little piece, it's a great chance to start learning it just a little bit. You know what I mean? And so you're not trying to learn the whole world of TypeScript at one time, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answered your question. There's also Kirk and I ran a series called TypeScript Tuesdays for a long time. I don't know how valuable those videos are, but they're all on YouTube as well. Okay, somebody had their hand raised for a little bit. I don't know if it was Kirk
That
or
was
Mike.
me. I was just gonna read out Micah's question, but you
Oh,
got
cool,
it.
cool, cool.
But yeah, I also posted anything like there's a decent handful of us in VC who, by choice or not, have had a lot of exposure to TypeScript. So if you do like get into any difficulties or you run into something, don't be afraid to just like either post in the help and pairing channel, or you can like hit one of us up and let us know. Like, and like Dan said, like Hacktoberfest is a nice space to learn, not just because like everything's sort of like in this like size it's easy to consume, but also it's like easy to get support, right? Because like it's all set up so like whatever you're working on, like there's a lot of context. So if you're working on an issue and you have trouble, you're like, hey, Kirk, can you help like figure out this type of stuff? Like, it's easy for me to say, like, yeah, let's figure out a way and we can jump in and talk about it. So do not hesitate.
Yes, thank you, Kurt. Yeah, and like there's a front end channel on Slack, and that's always full of TypeScript questions. And the Hacktoberfest channel would be a very appropriate place as well. So yeah. Does anybody else have any final questions or comments or concerns or pumpkin decorations they'd like to share? Uh, well, if not, then I want to thank everybody for coming and please, continue the conversation in the Hacktoberfest room. If anybody has questions or comments, or just like, hey, I submitted my pull request and you would just want to get a bunch of pumpkin reaction emojis from me, that will always happen. And hopefully everybody has fun in Hacktoberfest and has fun in open source and just has fun in general because fun is good and not fun is dumb. So that's what I'm going with. Thanks again, everybody, and we will catch you later. All right. I'm going to
Thanks,
stop
Dan.
this recording. Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.